Okay, David.
Okay, so what I want to do now is I'm going to talk about I'm not going to go into all the details of this affiliation process, paragraph 2553, the Book of Discipline, all that kind of stuff. Most all of you have already attended the different sessions we've gone to. I've mailed out information to the other folks. We've sent out postcards to invite people to come to the meetings. So some folks came to the meetings, some folks didn't. I'll talk a little bit about what's going to happen going forward though. So when I sent the letter back to the district superintendent, it just had the right verbiage in there that they needed to go forward. There really wasn't any question about the vote that we did or any of that. So where we are right now is we are in an inquiry phase if we want to keep going this direction. So what that means is that between now and when she holds the church conference, we can say we changed our mind. Okay? And she won't hold that church conference. If you change your mind, that's perfectly fine. Theoretically, there's 4 more years. This is a 4-year window of doing this. We are in year 2 of that window. So if you didn't do it this year, you would have 2 more years to do it. That's assuming they leave that paragraph in the Book of Discipline in August. However, if the protocol for reconciliation goes through, there's no need for that paragraph anymore. Okay? Because there's already another paragraph in the Book of Discipline for how a church can leave the conference. And that's paragraph 2549 in the Book of Discipline. There's a way that you can leave the church and you negotiate your property. In other words, you have to buy the church back from the Methodist Church. Probably market value or discounted value. I have no clue how that's done. I know Patton had to do that with one of their facilities. The church had it. They wanted that. They had to buy it back. They had to do fundraisers and buy back their own property. Okay. All right. So the big question was, how much is it going to cost us? And the short answer is the big dollar amount is $21,543. So what they do is they look at the total debt that's called the unfunded liabilities that the conference has. And the conference, Western North Carolina Conference, has $74.3 million in unfunded liabilities. So that's money that they owe for retirement, whatever it might be, that hasn't been paid for yet. So of that, they come back and they figure out, depending on what our apportionment is, that's what our expenses and some other multipliers going into how much we pay in apportionment each year. And our apportionments went down this year. We're paying $4,017 in apportionments now. Okay, so we have to pay that $4,017 each year. So as part of the disaffiliation process, you have to make sure your apportionment's paid. They want 1 more year's worth of apportionment, right? So now we're at that 4,017. Now another 4,017. We're up to 8,000 is change, right? $8,034. Okay, that's the apportionment part. Then on top of that is where they go against the unfunded liabilities. Our percentage by our church of that $74 million is 0.0002897. Okay, so of the $74 million, that formula comes up and says if we want to disaffiliate, it's going to cost $21,543, and you keep your property. It's all yours. Okay. There's a process you go through. 7 churches went through it last year. There's churches going through it right now. District superintendent, this is what she wrote back to me. She said, due to the fact that you're planning to retire, I think it's best for the church if we make every effort to complete this process by the deadline. The deadline's 1 April. This process, in the event the vote does not meet the required number to pass, so when this vote is held, that church conference, you have to have 2/3 of members voting yes or no, right? So you need 2/3 of members have to vote yes in order to continue on and start the actual rest of the disaffiliation process. And she just reminded that if you don't have the right number to pass, the church could still look at the path of 2549 and seek to close and negotiate for the purchase of the property from the conference trustees. Okay. So how is this church conference going to happen? Well, she says, so far the church conferences that have been scheduled will occur in late January or sometime in February. So there are other churches already going through this process. Those church conferences are happening at the end of January or in February. Okay. She can't give me an exact date yet, But it goes on. If the church has provided all the other needed information prior to that, we think that we can turn them around by the April 1st deadline. That said, who knows what it'll be like in February. Okay? So there's paperwork we have to fill out. We're working with the PPRC. We kind of appointed a committee. Joe, Kathy, and Larry Nadeau to be our point team, coordinating with the board, the conference board of trustees. Joe is on our trustees, Larry is on the PPRC, and Kathy is with one of the other committees. So that's why we picked those three. Okay. So they're actually representing kind of leadership roles as well. All right. And I'll be working with them to give them the information they need. And right there. So there's also a fellow I reached out to. He's from the Mount Zion Church. He's the one that they're the ones that disaffiliated last year. Their buyout was over $300,000. They have millions of dollars worth of property. They have a lot of expenses. I can't even imagine what their apportionments must be every year. Tens of thousands of dollars in apportionments probably. So this number is about what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was around 15 to 20, somewhere in that range. Bear in mind that there's another conference that we're going to be having, is South Macon Charge Conference coming up. Linda promised you that it was going to happen soon, right? So I'm going to hold her to that. And at that conference, we're going to make the vote to sell the parsonage, and a vote at that meeting to disperse the funds that are in the checking account. So how much is in that now, the charge checking account?
36,000. 36,000.
36,000. And so about a third of that will come here, based on how the spending has been done, and Union or Mulberry's gone for a while and stuff, right? So there's a formula for that as well. I think it's around 26 to 28% is where that multiplier is. So just know that wherever we are, we'll talk about it today in our leadership team meeting. There's still some of that money coming over. When they sell the parsonage, those funds would be available as well for pastor salary, right? Okay. So whatever about the same percentage too of the sale of the parsonage, hopefully. Okay. If they decide to sell it, the church could still decide not to sell it. It's up to the district and the Western Conference to decide if they want to sell the parsonage or not. It's their property. All right. So that said, how is this church conference going to work in the time of COVID? I mentioned, we could do things online. Have people here, people that aren't comfortable here, they can join the Zoom session, and there's even a way to call into the Zoom session. So if you don't have a computer, you have a telephone, you can call. That church conference, if you want to have a vote, you're going to have to be on that Zoom session. We will take a roll call of who is on the Zoom session. You can not be a member, be on a Zoom call, but you're not going to have a vote. We're going to look at the membership roster, and whoever was on the Zoom call and whoever is a member will be mailed a ballot. That ballot will be read during that Zoom session. That conference has one topic. That's a disaffiliation. The DS will probably talk a little bit about the process. I'll read the thing we're going to vote on, and then the ballot would be mailed to those people who have attended the session. Now, we'll probably do a self-addressed envelope so they can mail it back right away. Right? We're not going to mail out the ballot to the whole church population. We're going to mail out an advisory. Let me just tell you, I got some notes here. This is what I told the DS where we are. This is what I talked together, or what us as the PPRC decided. So we're putting together the 3-person team to be the front-facing group, and I talked about that. I'll be preparing a church-wide presentation for next Sunday. That's today. I told her that I'm having this conversation with you all. I felt it was important to talk about it in my sermon, because that's where we need to talk. We need to talk about the spiritual side of this thing and not just the politics side. Right? And I said I will prepare some sort of information packet that goes out before the ballot. So I'll be putting together a document that explains what's going on, what's coming up, why that Zoom call, phone call is important, and what the process is. okay?
So we're not gonna have anybody in the sanctuary?
Well, we can, yeah,
Oh.
but there's some people aren't comfortable coming to sanctuary, right?
Right.
So my fear was that some people wouldn't come because of COVID, and they wouldn't be able to vote because of that. There are other people that are out of state and they're afraid to come, travel here because of COVID.
Right.
Other folks may have come just for this, made a trip here, right? So this way they can participate remotely without discriminating against them because of COVID, right? So we were trying to be really, frankly, we didn't know if we were going to do it at all. So with the Zoom session, I think that will work. Then after the information packet goes out and we announce the Zoom session, during the Zoom session we'll take the roll call. Those members that attended the Zoom session will get a ballot for each person that was present on that phone call. Some people are together in the same house, right? Like you two are in the same house, and members on the same Zoom session. So again, we'll take a roll call, everyone present. I said, I'm inviting a member of the Mount Zion Disaffiliation to come talk to us. I'm trying to coordinate. His name is Jeremy Leggett, and he's the director of ministry at this new church. He's going to explain how the process went, what it was like sitting down with Bishop Leland and having the conversation that Joe, Kathy, and Larry are going to do. I'll be there too. The bishops just want to make sure, is this really what a majority, without voting yet, a majority of the conference wants to do, the congregation wants to do, okay? And then and he may or may not even have that meeting with us. I just know that Mount Zion had that meeting. He'll also talk about how they went through the incorporation process, how they went through all the paperwork that they had to get back to the Board of Trustees. He said that the conference trustees were incredible to work with. And it was a very easy process because they made everything so easy for them. And this is the second year they're doing it, so it should be a little bit more streamlined now. And he didn't say anything bad about Bishop Leland. It's just that they had to sit in front of him and say, this is what we're planning on doing. And I think he's trying to make sure that you don't have a rogue pastor trying to talk you into something you shouldn't be doing, right? That's why I'm staying neutral. I'm not talking you into anything. I'm just going to give you the information, right? Just the facts, man, right? All right, so I've asked Jeremy to come visit us. I'll get that coordinated. I said that we would pay for his travel, hotel, and meal to come over. He's over on the other side of Charlotte, and so for him to come over in the evening, it's not fair to ask him to go back the same night. So I figured we'd spring for a hotel and maybe feed him or something. I don't know. Whenever two or more Methodists gather, the chicken must die, right? All right. In this email I sent to her, I said, pause, I'm tired of typing all this stuff. So I said, we want to do our part to mitigate any calls to the district superintendent. We're trying to be as transparent as possible. We're not hiding anything here. The reason I did the all call yesterday was to let people know that we're going to be talking about this today. As you see other folks out there that are members of the church, you haven't seen them in a long time, let them know this is going on. Watch their mail. Hopefully, I only got 2 pieces of mail returned for the addresses, and one was Terry, and one was someone else. It might have been Trevor, I think. When I sent out the postcards, I got 2 back, so we'll make sure we have the right address as well. So, anyone that you that is a member of the church, you need to be socializing what's happening, and what's going to happen. Anyone you know of that's on the fence about being a member of this church before that, we're still open for business. We'll take new members. Whichever way they would vote on this topic. I'm saying we're not stopping our normal, ordinary process of being United Methodist. Right? So, that we can just continue on. And I reminded her that we needed the charge conference for the parsonage account, and that we need to get that taken care of. And that was all the discussion with her. So I don't know when that the church, it's called a church conference. I don't know when that church conference is going to be held yet. Like she said, into January, beginning of February. Hopefully you guys are getting a lot more information before that. Those that came to these sessions that we had, the 3 sessions, I gave you a lot of information already about how we got here and why we are where we are. I'm going to try and reproduce that topic on a 1-pager. some type of informatic, you know what they do, the graphic informatics to try to explain how we got to where we are. The consequences of voting no at the church conference are you are where you are right now. Nothing changes, right? You have a better understanding of how your church feels about this position, right? So there's no harm in voting no. Some people may vote no just because they want to slow things down. We still got 2 more years, right? I don't think that we can, I don't think there's anything that says we can't do it again the following year if you wanted to, right? Some people may just say, no, let's wait until let's see what really happens in August. Yeah, but remember, in August, they could change the book of discipline, and this could be gone. So I don't know. It may be honoring the 4-year offering that they did in the conference last year, the annual conference, or not. I don't know. All right. Yeah.
On what you're saying is when they have that meeting, only the ones that are on the Zoom meeting or are here will receive a ballot.
It's a mandatory meeting. Normally, you would have to be in the sanctuary, and you would have to vote on the ballot, hand it in, and we would count it and make the announcement right then. Okay. So we'll send these out. So who knows how long they take to get there, the mail nowadays, you know. So I would say within 10 days we would know, right? As soon as people get it, they vote. If they want to come return it in person to the committee, if they see you or Larry or you, they can just hand them to you. Or the ballot's going to have their name on it and their membership number on there, right? In a probably blue ink. So I mean, you're not going to be doing. There's no way you could have bad absentee ballots. How about that? So we're going to have a fair election. All right. Any other questions? Are you uncomfortable yet? No matter what, you guys are going to have decisions you have to make this year. There's a decision on this. If it doesn't pass, there's a decision to use the other paragraph, 2549, which you probably wouldn't want to do. That'd be more expensive. The decision to make if things roll out the way they're probably going to happen in August. And I say that because both sides, at one point the traditional said, no, we're fighting for the right to keep the Methodist Church traditional. They've given up and joined the protocol. Right? And the churches in South Africa, they say that's fine, we're going to join with the traditionalists for our part of it. Over in Germany and Switzerland and some of those countries, because the United Methodist Church is just going to change the book of discipline, they're just going to stay with, most of them are just going to stay where they are. I can't help but be torn right now with what's happening in our community though. You know, what's going to happen in these other Methodist churches? We don't know. But we're responsible for this congregation. Okay. You might talk to some folks that go to other churches and say, what are you guys doing? I doubt very seriously there's more than 3 other Methodist churches in this town that's even having this conversation. That are even talking about what's going to happen in August. I'm not talking about the disaffiliation. I'm talking about the protocol for reconciliation in August. I think that's going to blindside a lot of people. Now, I know a lot of folks watch our service from Patton Memorial and other places. That's why I mentioned what's happening on my sermon today. Hopefully they're going to their pastor and say, hey, he's talking about the church splitting in 2 in August. What's he talking about? And hopefully those pastors are getting up to speed. I'll know more tomorrow on my phone call with all the local pastors I have to meet with. Any questions?
You said if a member, somebody sees us and they want to hand us the ballot, where do we go with it?
We just hold on to it.
Just hang on.
Yeah, just hold on until we actually bring them together. Don't lose it. But I would trust you to get it here more than the mail sometimes, you know. Yeah, Tom.
Now, you said that everyone that's a member gets a ballot
Everyone that's a member who's on the Zoom session.
on the Zoom.
We'll get a ballot.
Zoom session.
That's just a substitute for being present, right? Because it's not fair to make people come to the sanctuary during time of COVID. This may change. They may come back and the bishop may say, no, you can't do Zoom. You have to do it in the congregation because that's what the book of discipline says. And I want to be, you told me I don't follow the book of discipline, so I want to hold you to that one. Who knows? But as That was the suggestion that came from the conference person that's doing this work, that we could do the Zoom session. Again, we're not the first ones, we're not the only ones doing this. I don't know how many other ones are, I didn't even ask. She just, the way she said, the other people that are going through this are being scheduled for end of January or February. So that tells me there's at least 3 or 4. Last year there was 7.
Do you have any choice as to when the Zoom session is scheduled?
No, we can, she will give me the date, and we probably have to pick the time. I think early evening usually works best for folks. I don't know. Normally it's done, the church conference would have done in church in the sanctuary, so maybe we do it on a Sunday afternoon or something, I just don't know. But she's gonna tell me, probably give me a couple dates that are available on her calendar. And it's unfortunate if there's people that want to attend and other things take them away and they can't attend. That's just, unfortunately, that's how things are. At least we have the flexibility of the Zoom session. And I know folks like T across the street, she can call in on the phone. I know there's a lot of people that are members that are confused about what's going on. And they don't understand why this is going on. I think you all kind of know how this got started. Is when I was telling you all the report from the annual conference back in the spring, and I mentioned the 7 churches that disaffiliated, people started asking questions. And so I brought up the sessions about what the process was, why they disaffiliated, and then what's happening with the protocol and all those things. So all those kind of things just came together. Joe called me an instigator this morning. I'm not an instigator. I'm an information giver. I instigated him to say the prayer. Okay. If that's all, we're class dismissed, and we got the leadership team meeting, and there's food back there.